Hello random YouTube people! Today we're going to talk about replacing your backflow preventer. So I am not a professional plumber, but I'm going to show you how a non-professional plumber can DIY this job using simple tools and some simple common sense. And you can too. Over the winter, apparently, my backflow preventer broke. When I turned on this valve, a crack formed down here. So I'll be replacing the backflow preventer with this brand new backflow preventer. Links will be in the description. So here is the new replacement backflow preventer. Before I install it, let's talk about it for a second. You have an incoming and an outgoing, and there are arrows that point the directions. If you can see here, maybe that'll zoom in. There's an arrow and it indicates the flow of the water. So the water is going to come in from the city down here, go into the vacuum breaker, and then go out to your irrigation or your sprinkling system. So let's just talk about quickly what the purpose of a backflow preventer is. So usually backflow preventers like this are the fact that you have culinary water and you're pumping drinking water through your sprinkling system basically. So there's the possibility that there's a vacuum or it gets sucked back up, and this stops it from getting sucked back up and going back into the city water. Why do we want to prevent that? Is because your sprinklers and your grass, you might have put fertilizer down on your grass, and that grass can get in through the sprinkler heads and get back down into your pipes and get sucked back up this way, and we're going to stop that fertilizer from getting into the water system. So that's the purpose of these. So it's very important to make sure that yours is working. And you may even want to get it inspected. They tell you once a year, but I don't think I've ever done that once, and the city's never come to me to request that. So that's just information for you. Here's my backflow preventer for my sprinkling system. This year, when I turned this valve on, it started spraying out a crack that formed right here on the side. And so that's been actively leaking, and it's pooling some water down here, getting onto the ground. The water is currently on in the system. You can see the valves are open. They're in this position. If the valve was in this position, it would be closed, right? So everything's open and running right now, so we're leaking water. So this valve right here needs to be replaced. Now, I haven't found this exact valve anywhere. I went to 2 different plumbing supply stores. I looked online, and I couldn't find just this valve that has the pressure relief portion that comes out the top here. They just have just the valve. So I'm going to replace the whole system. Now, I found this exact same unit at Lowe's. They wanted almost $400 for it, but I found it on Amazon for about $120. It's a 1-inch, you can see that's 1, and it's the same exact brand, which is Zern, and it's a 400 PSI. This exact same thing on Amazon. So let's go replace it. Before we get started, I thought I'd give you a side-by-side comparison of the old backflow preventer and the new backflow preventer. This is after, of course, I've already disassembled this and everything, and I haven't installed this yet, but I thought I'd talk about this first. So you can see that the crack in my backflow preventer is just on this valve right here. And so I could just replace just this valve, but look how corroded this valve or this backflow preventer is. So I thought it was worth it to just replace the whole thing instead of just this unit, because who knows what else would have failed, you know, in the next year, or maybe the next few months, or the next few years, who knows. So I've gone ahead and purchased an entirely new backflow preventer. Before we start replacing it, we're going to have to turn the system off. So we're going to go ahead and spin these into the off position, which is perpendicular to the valve direction, or the valve itself. So this is closed. So you see this one's in line, which means it's open. So we need to close it too. Oh, you can see some of it squirting out there. So that's the leak that we have. So if I shut this valve completely, the leak will stop, but that means the water is stopping right here. So it's not coming out that little hole. So when I turned it on for this year, if I go the right direction, it started spraying out that crack. Now that the system's turned off, we still have water from the city coming up to this valve. So we need to turn the water off from the city, and I'll show you what it looks like at my house. So at my house, I have a water meter from the city here in the park strip. And if I open that up, you'll see the city water meter, and you'll see that it breaks off and it goes to a valve over here, which is accessible from this little PVC pipe right here. When you spin the cap off, there's a big long PVC pipe, and way down at the bottom, which you can't even see because it's about 3 feet deep, is the valve. So we need our sprinkling system key to turn that valve. So here's my sprinkling system key. It's quite long and it goes all the way down to the valve. Let's go, dude. Now we're gonna stick the key down this hole, fill until it's connected onto the valve. There we go. And it should be righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There you go, so righty-tighty. Valve is now closed. So the city water stops here now and is not going through my system. And now we need to go leak my pressure valve, or drain the excess water out of it, I should say. Over at my sprinkling box, I'm also just gonna set this to off, just so that I don't have any issues. Back at my backflow preventer, I have these pressure relief valves, and I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Just take off this little rubber washer screw. And then it's gonna spray at me. I'm gonna open this up so that the excess water and pressure flow out of this portion here. Let's stand out of the way. There you go. Nothing's spraying, so that's fine. Do the same thing for this one as well. And you can see that if it's perpendicular, then that means it's closed. If we want to spin it parallel, it'll open it up. And there's some excess water draining out of the backflow preventer. So you're gonna let that drip down for a while. That's almost done. Now we can start taking this apart. So here it is. I knew I had one of these large crescent wrenches. I believe this one opens up to about 2.5 inches or so. And this will be more than plenty to get around this valve, and it'll give me the leverage I need to spin this off as well. This is a 10-inch long one, 15 inches long. All right. So you can see some scuff marks from me trying to do it with that other wrench, but here I can open this up and there it slides right on. And we can just tighten it up so it's a nice perfect fit. That's what she said. So as I was trying to take this backflow preventer off, I ran into a few snags. What I'm illustrating here and pointing to is called a galvanized union. This is the piece that allows you to replace these backflow preventers easily, but this particular piece was seized up with rust and I could not get it undone. So I had to try to spin the valve off on the irrigation side to try to get it to be released so I could take it off in pieces. So the problem is that the valves are threaded in the same direction, so when you tighten one, it loosens the other, but you have to tighten it as tight as you can in order to get it loose on the other side. So I had to do that in order to get this valve removed and get this backflow preventer taken out. Well, I guess these aren't reverse threaded like I hoped that they would be, so that when you tighten it, or when you loosen it, it loosens it up both ends. When you tighten it, it tightens it at both ends. That would have been really cool. Maybe somebody should do that. Reverse thread these things so that when you loosen them, they detach from both sides. Tighten them, they tighten from both sides. It does not do that. I don't have very much room to keep tightening it, and I'm not off the breaker, or the vacuum breaker part yet. This is harder than it looks. Can't really get it on camera one-handed, but it is so close to coming off right there. But this back and forth movement I've created a little bit concerning. I don't know if it's just the dirt I've moved or if there's something worse going down below. Also noticing this kind of corrosion right here, which I don't really like. That might become an issue in the future. Hopefully not. But this whole pipe might need to be replaced. Look at that. Holy crap, guys. Whew. Will look like a few minutes or a few seconds for you guys. took me probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes just to get this unspun and figure out how to get this attached or detached. But now you know. I had to tighten it to the right, in this case, to this elbow unit to get it off of this piece. And now I can spin this off finally, going the other direction. Alrighty, this valve removed. Now I just need to spin this single piece off of here. This piece is really hard to get off. You can see that it's actually got quite a lot of rust on it. So I might... Alright, I had to get some WD-40 and spray it on there. And I wiped it up as best as possible. I don't want it to go back into the city water, but I couldn't get this detached because of all that rust. But with a little WD-40 and some elbow grease, this whole section now spins right off. So we have this piece right here. It looks really rusty on the inside. All right, so this piece is called the galvanized union, and it's to unite two straight pieces. And it's used for being able to disconnect things like this backflow preventer. But this thing is so rusted on there, I cannot even spin it at all. So what I'm gonna do is just take this entire pipe out of the ground by spinning it to the left. And I'm gonna try to replace this whole thing just because this piece I cannot get undone. No matter how hard I try, it will not come apart. But this is the lifesaver for backflow preventers because this is the purpose of it, is to be able to easily swap out pieces. But since this point is failing, I'm gonna have to try to replace this whole line. Well, I spun this pipe out of the ground and you can see there's no way I was gonna get this unspun. It's so rusted. Like, it's no wonder I was having such a hard time trying to even spin this thing. So I can try to go find a new pipe that's this long, 1 inch, and a new union piece, and then a new top piece there. Problem was that when I pulled this out, dirt got down in the hole, and so now there's going to be dirt on the elbow piece that's underground, and I can't reach down there to clean it out. So I'm going to have to dig this hole out. Probably should have just done that before I tried to spin this off, but live and learn. Alrighty folks, so here's the irrigation side, and I dug down and you can see that's where the city side screws in, and it's now full of dirt. So I'm probably just going to turn the city water on and have it squirt that thing out of there. Of course, I'll try to remove some of the dirt first. But while I'm here, I might just try to replace this whole thing so that it's brand new and we don't have to worry about it for a couple more winters. So I might dig down and expose this part as well. You see it goes from metal to plastic, so that's good to know. All right, so that really wasn't such a big deal. So you can see I can spin this off now and try to replace this entire line if I wanted to. And now I need to get a little screwdriver and get as much dirt out of that hole as possible. But like I said, I might just turn on the city water and let the pressure push that line clean. But yeah, next is to go to Lowe's and get the parts that I need. Getting some of that mulch and dirt out of there. Well, I got it pretty cleaned. I didn't turn it on from the city because I didn't want water to shoot out and then have all the dirt come back down and clog it back up anyways. I'm gonna leave it like this while I go get some parts, like a new galvanized union. So just so that no more debris gets down that hole. So I don't know if you can see that, but it says 1x18 galvanized. So if we take my tape measure, you can see that if we put it up to the valve there, or the galvanized union, we've got about 18 inches here. So if I want a replacement one of these, I'm going to measure from the end up to here. So I'm guessing about 24. So I need a 1x18 and 1x24. I need a new galvanized union and an elbow piece. And this, in my case, is all 1 inches. And I knew that by looking at the breaker too. So since I have to replace the whole thing anyways, or at least I've decided to because my other one is so rusted out, here's the setup. So it starts down with the city water is going to be coming in. There's a plastic elbow piece in the ground, and this is going to be connecting to that. This is a 18-inch long pipe, and all of these are 1 inch in radius or in diameter. And so it's gonna go from this 18-inch pipe to this galvanized union, and this is in 3 pieces. And I'll show you that in a second, which connects to this piece. They call it a nipple. It's a male on both sides, threaded piece. Then it goes into the backflow preventer. So here's our first valve, and then it will go out to our irrigation. And I'm gonna connect to a 90-degree elbow with a male piece on the side, to female, to male. And then this piece is 24 inches long to meet up with the same length eventually once everything's tightened together. And then it'll meet up like that in the ground. So that's our layout, and let's get to it. So this here is really the essential piece to this all. It's called the union, and let me take it apart for you and so you can see the different pieces. It's 3 pieces. So here's that piece. We're gonna attach this one to our 18-inch pipe at the top. So this will be the top of our pipe. And then this one actually goes on the inside of the middle threaded piece, and that'll create a seal. But this piece is going to be attached to this piece right here. And then if we do it like a dry fit, you know, or pretend that that's spun in there. Let me actually do that really quick. All right, so that's dry fitted together. And this will be fixed and it won't be moving, and this will be fixed and it won't be moving. So we just simply spin the collar and it will tighten these 2 pieces together, just like this. And that's really the magic behind this all. And I wish I would have known that when I started this project. It would have saved a lot of time. But again, that one that I had was rusted out and needed to be replaced anyways. So I am learning so I can help you learn and avoid my mistakes. Now that I'm reassembling this all, the first part is going to be to screw this 18-inch long pipe into the city port, which is right here. But first I'm going to put some plumber's tape or some Teflon tape onto the end. Remember, you want to spin it in a direction so when you're tightening it, it tightens into the tape instead of peeling it away from the spin. So do that. All right, so 18-inch pipe connecting down to the city water line. That's just a 90-degree elbow, and we're just going to spin it on in there. While I'm at it, I'm just going to put the 24-inch pipe on the other side. Next is our galvanized union piece, and you're going to want to make sure you do the non-diaphragm side, which is the one on the right, not this one on the left over here. That's the one you want to be on the top. So the one that doesn't have the diaphragm side, you want to be on the bottom of the incoming city line, so it's easier to disassemble in the future. Now for the parts that are going to be above ground, I found this plumber's tape, which is actually a gray color. So it'll match closer to the color of the pipe rather than just a stark white. So it'll blend in a little bit better. So on every fitting above ground, I'm going to use this gray colored plumber's tape. Here's the bottom part to that galvanized union. We're just going to spin that on until it's nice and snug. Now on the other side of the galvanized union, we're going to screw in the male-to-male nipple piece, just like this. Of course, we're going to put the plumber's tape in there, but we probably won't be able to tighten this down all the way until we're actually to the part where we're putting this other side in to the backflow preventer. That gray Teflon tape is pretty cool. It just kind of blends in with the color of the pipe. At this point, I'm going to start working backwards. So I'm going to put my elbow piece on and then attach the entire assembly of the backflow preventer. So next comes the 90-degree elbow piece. This is a female to a male because the male part is going to go into the backflow preventer. And so this is the male part of the 24-inch. All right. Now I didn't spin the elbow piece all the way flat because I need room to spin the backflow preventer around, and then I'm going to spin it over into place. Teflon tape. We are nearing the end of this project. So we take our fully assembled that we bought from Amazon, and we're going to attach it to the irrigation side, which is this one over here. So it actually, in my case, would be spun around like this. So we attach this side here. I've been liking to start the spin of these threads in the direction that this will end up being. So I'm starting it parallel like that. I'm gonna have to do this with two hands though. Thought I would take this opportunity to educate you, since in 2023, a lot of people seem to be confused. This is a male end, this is a female end. Makes sense? You're welcome, human race. I just solved your problem. Male, female. Now that those pieces are making sweet, sweet love, we're just gonna continue spinning this around until it's hand tight. And we're probably gonna do one more time around with the wrench. Looks like someone decided to come give me a hand. All right, so I've spun that around. I'm pretty sure that's pretty tight. I did go around twice with the wrench, and I lined these up so that they are parallel, the up pipe or the down pipe and the backflow preventer. And the next step is going to be to put that top piece of the galvanized union on right there. And then finally we'll just assemble it all together with a simple twist. Of course, remember your plumber's tape. And it's got to go. All right, male to female, we're going to start twisting this into the bottom of the backflow preventer. And this is I've already assembled the top piece of the galvanized union on the bottom. And so I was just gonna tighten this in here. The last step in the assembly portion would be to lift up the top of the galvanized union and have it meet the other side. And then you simply twist this collar until it's tight. And then that's it. You want to tighten that down with a wrench just to make sure that everything's watertight. And after that, we're ready to turn on the water. Sorry for the weird angle, I'm up against the house. But before I turn the water on, I'm going to make sure that everything's off. So this is perpendicular to the valve, which means it's off. This one's going the same direction, so that's on. We're going to want to turn that off by just turning it up. This one's also off. This one's on, so let's turn that off. Off. And that one's not quite off. All right, so now let's go turn on the city water. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I can feel the vibration of the water flowing through the valve, so that's on. Let's go check it. So we just opened up the city valve. There should be water flowing through this line right now, stopping here. And let's open it up just to see if we have any leaks. I'm going the wrong direction. That's probably why. You heard that sound, that's the water flowing through. If we wanted to quickly test it, we can open up this little pressure relief valve to see if water's flowing through, which it should be. Just try not to get too wet. Whoa. I sprayed myself, so we have water flowing. So let's open up the next valve to go into the irrigation system. So no leaking through any of the valve portions. All right, here's our backflow preventer, all leak free now. I had to go back in on these two joints here with some pipe dope to stop the leaking because the Teflon tape wasn't doing a good job. But once it's leak free, you just fill it in with your backfill and you're good to go. So this is actively running the water from the city, and you can test out your sprinklers and make sure everything's working. But that's how you replace a backflow preventer or a vacuum pressure breaker, whatever you want to call it. Write down in the comments if you have anything else that you would have done differently. But we are good to go. The last thing I'm going to do is try to find a cover for this, like a fake rock, so that the sprinklers don't sit and hit this all the time from that side and turn it all green again, so it'll be free from the weather. I just need to find one that will fit in this small area right here and cover my backflow preventer, but then it'll look nice and sharp. And here we go. Finally, it's covered with a fake rock Took a long time to find one that would fit this area since it stood up 19.5 inches off the ground. So it looks pretty big and bulky, but at least that will keep the water off the backflow preventer and keep it from rusting out like it did before. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Well, there you have it. A replacement of a backflow preventer, or a vacuum breaker they're called. It really wasn't that hard. You just need the right tools. And just remember to subscribe.